Hello, and welcome to Toastmasters Bay to Bay, featuring speakers from San Francisco to Monterey. Tonight, we'll be featuring 2 speakers and 2 evaluators, and you'll get an idea of what a Toastmaster meeting is all about. Our first speaker this evening, he is with SIPP Toastmasters in Palo Alto. He will be speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual, speech number 5, which focuses on body language and gestures. The title of his speech is Be Bigger Than You Really Are. Please help me welcome Rishi Nakra.
Thank you, Becky, for that wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toastmaster. Today I want to inspire you to be bigger than you really are. However, first I must ask you this question. Have you ever seen a picture of our Milky Way galaxy? And as you're viewing that picture, you hear an astronomer narrate, see that tiny little speck in that corner over there? That's not even bigger than a piece of dust? That's our sun. Wait a minute, I look outside, our sun's way bigger than that piece of dust, but in actuality, compared to the Milky Way, our sun is just a little tiny speck. And not to mention, the nearest star to travel besides our own sun is about 4.7 light years away. That which means if you were to take a spaceship right now to travel to that sun, it would take you 100,000 years to get there, given with the technology we have now. Think of how many of your son's baseball games you miss traveling to that star. However, when I look at it and I see our galaxy and that little tiny speck on that picture of our Milky Way, sometimes I feel that we are as small as that tiny little speck. And the reason is we're caught up in our own drama. We're caught up in all the gossip that goes on in the office. It's very frustrating because we can be bigger than we really are. How do we do it? Well, we have to act big. We have to project. For instance, when I go to a coffee shop, sometimes when I'm caught up in my own little world and I cannot even pay attention to the outer world that's going on me, and I shut off everything, I'm just I just feel too introverted. And I realize, wait a minute, there's a person helping me make my coffee in front of me. Shouldn't I show him some appreciation? And then I snap out of it. And when he hands me my latte and I see he made a little design with a foamy milk into a heart, I say to him, wow, that's really impressive. I could never do that. That looks really nice and I'm really impressed. And that brightens his day. It's amazing just what you can do when you project. Wouldn't it be awesome if you can just, with a snap of the finger, just grow and expand really, really big? Be like Gulliver's Travel. In fact, not even Gulliver's Travel, be a Herculean image that just expands and fills up the capacity of our own universe. Of course, people freak out and run and see you as Godzilla terrorizing the street. However, if physically it's going to be impossible. However, the way you move, the way you project your spirit, the way you project your personality, you can fill up the space in the universe. And I want to ask you, how aligned are you with our universe? I'm not talking about any kind of new age, hooky, kooky, voodoo stuff. Think about it. Our universe is constantly expanding. Scientists call it dark matter. It's this dark matter that's expanding the universe. They call it dark matter because they don't know exactly what it is, so they labeled it dark matter. Okay, but however, how are you expanding? How are you expanding in spirit? Are you making something of value to yourself? For instance, we all have our own day jobs where sometimes it just feels like a drag. It feels like a chore to go to work. It doesn't have to be. Do you see your job as just a chore so you can go home and spend the rest of your time on the internet and then sleep? Or do you see yourself as someone of value, someone who can contribute to your work environment? When you see yourself as someone giving value and giving benefit to your organization, to your community, to your company, you feel a sense that you are a Herculean being. And that's what I want all of us here to get to. Just be like a Hercules. Be like one of the pantheon of the Greek gods. Hold a big thunderbolt in your hand and declare yourself that this is my life, and I am going to expand and be big and be bigger than who I am. And I want you, all of you, to be bigger than you really are. Thank you, Ms. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rishi. And I'm sure we can all take that as a very inspirational message on thinking bigger, too. I want to find out, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
I started in 2007. I was with a club at HP called the HP Communicators, and I was there for a year before I moved to Roseville, and then I joined a few clubs in Roseville. When I left Roseville to move back here, I started, I attended SIPP Toastmasters back in March, and I've been with SIPP Toastmasters since March.
And I understand SIPP Toastmasters just achieved a major award in the Distinguished Club Program.
That's really amazing. However, since I joined in March, I didn't really have much to do with that. However, the members did, and they've been great members. They've contributed really well, and I believe that they deserve it. Definitely more than me. I've only been in that club since March.
I still would like to believe you had a Herculean effort
Me too.
in inspiring them towards the end. So, well, thank you very much for your speech.
Thank
and
you.
We'll be thinking about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I will invite up Rishi's evaluator. She has been with San Mateo Toastmasters for 9 years. And she has quite a bit of a background in evaluating, too. She's been in a few Toastmaster contests. I've seen her in action. Very experienced evaluator. Let me welcome Lynn Bruno.
Thanks, Becky. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and our guests at home. And Rishi, thank you so much for your speech. That was a great message, great topic for a speech. I like the way you came prepared, dressed to speak, and you have a great smile, and you have really nice presence up here. I liked some of the humor you had in your speech, like how many baseball games you're going to miss going to the Sun, if you choose to go there. And I also really liked your little anecdote at the coffee shop, making the connection with the person at the coffee shop, the little detail of that person making the heart on top of your coffee. That was really nice. I wish there had been a lot more specifics in your speech, because you had a great message, but I didn't feel like you supported it enough with those kinds of things that we all need to know. How do we be bigger than we are? Well, we connect at the coffee shop. I wanted to hear more of that kind of specific, actionable, small, everyday thing that we could do. Now, the goal of this speech was body language, so let me talk specifically about that. So your stance was a little bit static. You kept pretty rooted to your spot. You did a lot of this with your hands, which a little bit of that is okay, but it got to be distracting, so it needed more variety. And it is okay to just stand here with your hands down, although it's very hard to do. It can be hard to do, to just stand still. But then if you don't stand still, when you do a gesture, it loses its impact if you're doing it the whole time. So you want to try to practice just holding still. You took a step back a couple times from the audience, and you want to approach more and come in to connect better instead of moving back. I thought that your eye contact, you looked down quite a bit during your speech instead of at the audience, and I think it would be really good if you could sustain eye contact with someone, talk to them for a few minutes, and then move on to the next person in the audience, talk to them a little bit, instead of sort of scooting your eyes around, up, down, all around would be really good. Your face, sometimes you seemed a little bit puzzled during your speech. And I thought maybe you could have practiced your speech a little bit more because it wasn't quite smooth and it seemed a little bit like you were thinking it out while you were doing it, and your face kind of showed that a little bit of brow furrowing and thinking going on. So maybe a little more practice and a little more connection with the audience and more specifics to support your great message.
Thank you, Lynn, for your very helpful comments.
You're welcome.
And now I'd like to go ahead and introduce or talk about the HP Hilltop Toastmasters Club in Palo Alto. They are going to be the club featured in this next segment. They are a select distinguished club. They've received 7 out of 10 goals in Toastmasters. Congratulations.
My name is Wendy Dawson, and I'm an employee of Hewlett-Packard, and I'm currently the VP of Public Relations. I joined in August of last year, and so far I've had a great experience with Toastmasters. It's given me a lot of practice in preparing my speeches, but at the same time, since I'm in a leadership role, on how to lead meetings and prepare events such as we had today. Well, basically we held an open house. So what that means is, since we are an open club, we allow both HP employees as well as any other company in Palo Alto to come to our club. We had a guest speaker, Kevin Ferguson. He's a PowerPoint consultant, and he gave us a workshop on how to best put together a PowerPoint for different situations, and it was very informative. And we actually also held our normal meeting, so we also included a table topic session toward the end to show everyone how they could practice their impromptu speaking as well. So again, I think it gave everyone here a good chance to see a guest speaker, but then also how a typical format of a Toastmasters meeting would be held. When I joined HP, I had a lot more opportunity to give speeches and to present my thoughts to executive management. And to me, Toastmasters gave me more experience in doing that. Sometimes you lose your audience unless you have a very effective way of reeling them in on certain key points, and Toastmasters kind of helped me understand that.
And I was told by my manager that I needed to improve my public speaking skills, or my speaking skills in general. So he recommended Toastmasters to me. First went online and found where there was one close by. I went to 2 or 3, but settled on the club here just because it felt comfortable. It went well with it. The nuances that go into a speech, into speaking in general, body language, the metaphors and rhetoric that you use when you speak is something I've never thought about. But when you do the Competent Communicator Manual, when you go through your first 10 speeches, each one of those is one of the topics for each speech. So you spend time looking into it and concentrating on it. It's fun. It really has turned out to be fun, really. Tax evasion and tax avoidance. Does anybody know?
Getting caught.
20 years. See you tomorrow.
Welcome back. Hello and welcome back to Toastmasters Bay to Bay. Now we're ready to hear from our second speaker this evening. She is a member of SRI Organon in Menlo Park, and their club was President's Distinguished Award, which means they reached 9 out of 10 goals. And she will be delivering a speech. It was a contest speech. It's an inspirational speech, so she will be inspiring the audience. And this is from a recent international speech contest in Toastmasters. Her title is My Journey to America. Please help me welcome Margaret Winterburn.
My journey started when Mother and I caught the 6 a.m. train from Ipswich to London. When we arrived in London, we took a taxi and we went to the British Airways office that was in the west of London. There, you could check in your luggage, confirm your flight, and they provided a bus for the passengers that would take you all the way out to Heathrow. My mother couldn't come because the bus was only for the passengers. So I got on the bus, I sat down, and I turned to wave goodbye to my mother, only to see that she was crying. I'd never seen my mother cry before. I thought, what are you doing, Margaret? Do you really want to go? It's not too late, you could get off. But even as I thought that, the bus pulled away from the curb, and it was too late. Short time later, about half an hour later, we landed at Heathrow Airport. They take you straight to the terminal. And from there, you could walk directly to the boarding area. This was in the days before you had to take off your shoes, go through a metal detector, and be scanned if you should happen to beep. Wasn't long before I was on the plane, and I'm thinking, America, here I come. 4, 5, 6 hours later, over the loudspeaker came, we're preparing to land in New York. When we've landed, please go pick up your luggage and go directly to the immigration and custom area. Picked up my luggage, dashed to the immigration and custom area, only to be met with a cacophony. If not a Tower of Babel, it was definitely a room of Babel. There were people lined up 10 deep at all these different desks, and no one there to help them. I found out that while Europe had put their clocks forward an hour, America had not. And apparently no one had told New York Airport. So there was no one there. The loudspeaker comes on and says, we're really sorry. We've contacted our agents and we're asking them to come in early. I thought, yes, and how long is that going to take? But slowly but surely they came in, and I heard a voice say, if you have a connecting flight, you may come to the front. So I picked up my cat, and being younger then, I ran to the front. It wasn't long really before I got through immigration, through customs. It wasn't such a hassle as it is today. And when I got out the other side, I found an employee and I said, could you tell me where the Northwestern Airline terminal is? Oh yes, she says, it's right next door. You can wait, there'll be a bus come eventually and take you there. Oh, you could walk, it's really not very far. And I thought, oh, why don't I walk? I need some fresh air anyway. So I picked up my suitcase and I walked, and I walked, and I walked. Her not very far was definitely not my very far. Eventually, of course, I did reach there, went directly to the check-in counter, checked in my luggage, confirmed my flight, and said, how long do I have before I have to catch my plane? Oh, nearly an hour, she said. Oh, of course, I'd forgotten the hour we got by coming in early. So I said, is there a coffee shop anywhere? Blank look. The lady behind me said, she means a coffee shop. Shop? I don't need a shop, but if they sell cold drink, that's fine by me. So told me where to go. I got there. It wasn't a shop, it was a cafe. So I went in, sat down, and up comes the waitress. Can I help you? Yes, I'd like an orange squash, please. A what? An orange squash? I thought Americans spoke English. Anyway, I said, if you could bring me a fruit drink, not fizzy, and nice and cold. Off she went, and I could see she was laughing. I didn't care. But when she brought my drink, it was really delicious, and I felt so much better. I walked directly again to the boarding area. Short time later, on the plane, and I thought, great, Portland, here I come. That's where I was going. We've been going about 3-4 hours, and over the loudspeaker comes a voice saying, we're preparing to land in Seattle. Anyone that's going on to Portland, please stay in your seat. Okay, so off goes the passengers, the crew, the pilots, and we sit there in this silent plane. After about an hour, we're all getting kind of restless. So one of the passengers walked up onto the concourse and came back with one of the employees. She picked up the intercom and she said, we're very sorry, but the pilot thought this was the end of the flight, and he and the pilot went home. We are trying to get hold of them, however, or if failing that, find another pilot who can fly the plane. I thought, I hope he can fly the plane if you find him. Must have been at least another hour before finally the crew came back on, the pilots came back on. Short time later, the engine started and we finally took off for Portland. Not a very long flight to Portland, and I looked and I thought, good heavens, I've been traveling 24 hours. It's that long since I had a decent meal. I'm really getting hungry. Then I thought, wow, we are really later than I told my friend I would be. I hope she knows that. We landed in Portland, and as I got up the ramp, there was my friend Susan. Talk about a relief. We picked up my luggage, got in her car, and I said, is there anyone open at this time of night? Because this is nearly midnight in England, nothing open. Just where I could get something to eat. I am really hungry. Oh, yes, she said, there's a drive-in. Drive-in? Never been to a drive-in. I've only seen them on the films, in fact. So we drove down the road, went into the drive-in. The waitress came, took my order. I ordered a hamburger, of course, being in America. When she brought it, it was one of these huge hamburgers. Delicious, except for the pickles. I don't like pickles. As I sat there eating my hamburger, I thought, you know, I'm eating an American hamburger in an American car at a drive-in. I'm finally in America and my journey is over. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margaret. I think everyone can relate to either themselves traveling away from their parents or being a parent and having a child travel away. So that really connects.
Yes. I never thought my mother would be upset. She always wanted to come to America. My father wouldn't come. And so I thought she'd just be happy that I was coming. Apparently not.
She didn't have the idea that you'd be going without her.
Without her, I think that was it, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to know when you see parents really care, isn't it? Yeah. I want to find out, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
7.5 years, since 83.
Okay.
Late 83.
And what do you like most about going to Toastmaster meetings?
I think the friendliness and the humor and the conversations and listening to other people's speeches. And you get such nice positive feedback that it really does you good. I would never have been able to stand up in front of anybody and speak before I went to Toastmasters.
Wonderful. Well, you seem very at ease, so it's doing you good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Margaret's evaluator has been with SIPP Toastmasters since 2003. And he even helped found the club. So he has a lot of experience in building a club as well. And one other quick tidbit, I thought this was interesting. He has varied interests. He's written a book of poetry and a science fiction novella outside of his time in Toastmasters as well. Let's welcome Bill Copeland.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and you millions of people out there in the television audience. I really enjoyed Margaret's speech. She is a delightful person, kind of bubbly in an understated way, and I love to hear it. So thank you very much, Margaret, for a very nice speech. I think you showed great courage in coming to America. You didn't say you had never been here before, but I suppose that was the case. And people who do things with great courage have to show us an inspiring face. If you do something that you've never done before, you leave your mother in tears, then I think you've inspired us. Now, there were a couple of things that I really liked. One of them was your sense of humor. You have a kind of a delightful, bouncy little sense of humor that threads all the way through your speech. And you use the gestures, you even use your body language, you know, to emphasize your sense of humor. It's just delightful. Now, the one thing that I would have liked to hear at the front of your speech, since your speech is so natural, it just flows along, it's just like you're talking to somebody on the telephone or a bunch of friends, which I believe we are. I would like to have heard a little bit of a summary at the beginning. Kind of give us an envelope to look forward to. and that is something like, I had some very serious worries about traveling. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to speak American English or not, or whether I was going to find my way from one place to the other, whether I had enough time. I just didn't know what to expect. That's the sort of thing you could say. You could also say something like, you really enjoyed your trip, and you want to tell us about it. You want to tell us how much you enjoyed your trip. This is kind of an introductory part of your speech that would tell us where you're going. But I have to tell you, at the end, you summed up very nicely. You said, "Wow, I'm actually here in America. It's wonderful." And I know that feeling, because the first time I went to England, I landed at Heathrow. Whew, wow, this is a different place. So thank you very much for your speech, and I look forward to your future speeches also. It's delightful. Thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank you, Bill,
You're
for
welcome.
your thorough evaluation.
Sure.
And today you got to see two speakers who came with prepared speeches and two evaluations of those speeches. This gives you an idea of a Toastmaster meeting. If you'd like to find a club near you, please go to www.d4tm.org, and we have a club locator there. You can find a club near your home, near your work, whatever's convenient for you. Toastmasters is a very supportive organization. We're all learning and growing. And as you can see, people have been in Toastmasters a while, and they started from one place and improved. So you can too. So please join us.